Hello, good evening, good morning. My name is Elizabeth Willis, and it's an honor to be in your company today to share this time and space with you and to have heard all these amazing voices. I'm a faculty member at the Iowa Writers Workshop in the U.S. state of Iowa, Iowa City, where we live and write and teach, is located on the homelands of the Ojibwe, Anishinaabe, Bohoje, Meskwaki, Lakota, and Ho-Chunk nations. I'm here to introduce to you a few of my fellow poets here at the workshop, including two of this year's visiting faculty poets, Julian Talamantes Brolaski and Farnoosh Fati, as well as three other members of the workshop community who have come through the program, Zubair Siddiqui, Samira Abed, and Coco Thet. I'm honored to work with them and to be able to join you to voice our solidarity with the Palestinian people whose cause we support. I will be reading a brief excerpt from the great Mahmoud Darwish's prose collected in the Presence of Absence, translated by Sinan Antun. No one spends a night in prison without training his throat on what resembles singing. For that is the way one is allowed to tame solitude and preserve the dignity of pain. To hear your own hoarse voice means that your other has spent the night with you and whispered your personal news to you in a room. The narrower it becomes, the wider what lies beyond it grows. You embrace the world, infatuated with reconciliation. And you, when you sing, you do not sing to share the night with someone, nor do you sing to measure the rhythm of a time without sign or rhythm. You sing because the prison cell tempts you to speak of what you lack in perfect solitude to the world outside. Fields come to you with the rustling of golden ears of wheat. The sun fills your heart with the light of oranges. The flowers on slopes, tousled like the hair of a wild girl, come to you. The aroma of coffee charged with the exhilaration of cardamom comes to you, as if you had never noticed before all the vastness and gentleness that exists outside and the celebration of nature that you lacked. Just as in poems and at dusk, obscurity celebrates clarity, because a secret focal point emits its rays in directions and words and deprives darkness of the eternity of attributes. Tiny memories visit you in a herd of goats while stags leap like pine cones on a mountain road. In every song, there is a girl waiting at a bus station or on a balcony. On every balcony, there is a handkerchief waving and a dove seeking refuge. You are you and more. You are you and less. You are almost you. You, not I, are the loser. He who lives on depriving others of light drowns in the darkness of his own shadow. You will never be free of me unless my freedom is generous to a fault. Then it would teach you peace and guide you home. You, not I, are afraid of what the cell is doing to me. I have the vision and you have the tower, the heavy keychain, and a gun trained on a ghost. I have sleepiness with its silky touch and essence. You have to stay up watching over me, lest sleepiness take the weapon from your hand before your eye can see it. Dreaming is my profession, while yours is pointless eavesdropping on an unfriendly conversation between my freedom and me. Poetry is an act of freedom. You are you and not you at the same time. Thank you.
My name is Zubair Siddiqui. I'm reading from Iowa. I'm going to read one poem that I've written and then two poems by Faiz Ahmed Faiz that I've translated into English. Say, it is not their death, for death is promised to us all. It is in between, the food they will not taste, the joy they will not mix with grief into that elixir that eventually kills us all. Calculation and execution in one breath. A list so short of the turmoil of being, it's unutterable. It is not just their closed eyes, but how those still open are blank with memory, fading, too slow to afford them sleep, not slow enough to evade guilt. It is not that olive trees won't regrow, but that the price of peace is tearing off their limbs as offerings. It is not that peace doesn't mean end the killing, but that there is no life without liberation. It is not that the stomach cannot shrink further, but the tears that chewing can let, the rumination of flavor, the salivation in every mouth. It is not their deaths, for they laid awake, repositioning their backs to slot into rubble. It's how brave you made their children too soon. Say that they are your children too. Now the translations. Do Nazme Palestine ke liye. The first one. Palestini martyrs in foreign lands. Wherever I went, land of my country, I went with the scars of your humiliation stinging in my heart, with love for your honorable light in my heart, with your affection, with the ache of your memories. The musk of your orange buds went with me. Every unseen companion's presence stayed with me. So many hands stayed clasped in my hand. In a distant country's unkind streets, in an unknown city's obscure and nameless streets, on whichever ground blossoms the flag of my blood, there waves the grief of the land of Palestine. Your enemies destroyed one Palestine. My wounds flourished countless Palestines. And this next one is Lullaby for the Palestini Child. Don't weep, child. After weeping and weeping, your mother's eyes have shut. Don't weep, child. Just earlier, your father took leave from his grief. Don't weep, child. Your brother, chasing the butterfly of his dreams, has gone to some far country. Don't weep, child. Your elder sister's carriage has left for another country. Don't weep, child. In your courtyard, they bathed the sun's body, then left. They buried the moon, then left. Don't weep, child. Ammi, Abba, Baji, Bhai, sun and moon. If you weep, they will make you weep even more. If you smile, then maybe one day they'll change appearance and return to play with you. Thank you.
I'm Julian Berlasky. Thank you, Elizabeth Willis, for inviting me. It's an honor to be part of this global collective for poetry as a means of medicine and witness, and also, perhaps most importantly, poetry as a catalyst for peace and love and political change. I'm going to read two poems. This is The Mirror World. In this exceptionally mild corner of the known universe, I wept in the womb and was born with lilies in my eyes. When the sun rose over the waters, it was unspeechable, like a scrap of rainbow or snowy plovers nesting in a footprint in the sand. Rather than being dead, my name was retired, put out to pasture with the horses too wise to be ridden. By means of human contrivances, I could soar undisturbed along the jagged edges of the mountain, moon-crusted mollusks in my teeth and a fringed raiment. Instead of time ticking away predictably, it was wobbly like the tides. Singers with smoother tones than I have sang, "Stay, little Valentine," rousing entire rivers with a dowsing rod. The poet who lived for 44 years in Gaza, a city by the sea, and never saw a ship. Saint Jerome, whose sins were in his heart, beating his chest with the stone, a poor outcast from life's feast. Distant blue groves, icy veined pulsations. What would be even more marvelous would be to turn wine into water, like some alchemical defense of divine power. Maybe it was fate. Maybe we were just the bird and a branch it sat on one day. Okay, this next poem is called Minelands. Many of us remember what our ancestors have done, what ululations to dress, to hunt meat, extract medicine from leaf. Jealous ones didn't like the precision of our lexicon, and the bearers too are speaking very precise. We don't recall a lot of the words now. The grammar seems obtuse. A fox deep in the wood, almost arbitrary. But thick blood course languidly, moonbeams in the bones, antic, bejeweled, crestful, render their music direct to the mind-heart. Many of us are in receipt of that music sideways, braiding in its ourself. Outrider neurowaves on the brink of a perceptual expansion, misinterpreted as psychosis by pilgrims of which I too am a part. Pilgrim, Indian, Indian, pilgrim, Indian, and we're broadly painted, photographed for purposes of preparing for the ultimate erasure, engraved in the process of our limbs rended by dogs in pits, as courtiers, bemused, twirl their walking sticks, obsession, repulsion for our discordant, multiplicitous genders are otherwise rendered according to Greekish, ungolden, inappropriate proportion. An illustration immodestly to be wished, indecorously to be mapped, point upon point upon point and counterpoint. It's like a Socratic irony where you play dumb, but you know the answer. Many of us remember what our ancestors have woved and songed. We're alive to the pattern, but don't recall the melody, or don't recall that we recall. Tree become leaf, tucked into the braid of the hair. Bone become water to succor the stream. Arrow become boomerang, beckoning its source in the minelands of our heart, where no border reigns. Thank you.
The roundabout of the P, into which has clogged the gall of the pubic chorus, the bumper sticker of the bosom, on which a baby bounces on board, and drags its pubic beard from one place up the flagpole made of milk, rising up the pen, in which the scene is animated in miniature. The glass wand with the pen of milk and the thoroughfare before the writing begins to flush its scene. A whorl across each temple is promised. There is no signature, but a few poodles and pube tumbleweeds cross town in the shattered dunk tank of the pen and wait, such that fulfillment feels already newly defined. That is, there is hardly is there time to wait for fulfillment when it seems one's longing for what one thought one was, when thought was a whorl at the temple, held in a promise like a flush arranged by the wish etc., but rather that once the poodle came in the collar of pubes, raising the bouquet of its tail, it seemed that thought had come, as if it were the calling card of what came in its stead, and what had been coming all along, such that fulfillment of a wish was never of the wish, but a reflection of something far to the exactitudes of one's desire, something far more exact and unforeseeable, that is a signal, if one could call it, of not what would come, but of what would always be coming unforeseen, yet communicative of the surprise that included one in on its violet, intimately the violet with the sharpener of the valley of the brows of K. Along each petal, that's what I saw. Then, into the eel of the pencil, the tree on trot at the nor far nor near forest, came splaying curls and volutes of every spine, pine and snout, in bouts and bouts more to wander at what the puss, the stalking cat, met in its shadow, whether wearing a chapelet of ladybug wings, or underwear of the sun, or demi-veil of the rain. Behind the demon paper mill, with the wind whiskering out its sender, whistling too out its nostrils, wainscoted with worms. In tuppence this was not much, in cents less than a solution, but midst leaked or squeezed out, curled like biceps and mustaches, going surfing on the toothbrush of the whale. But that is his comb-over, which Kay has played and continues to play with a rose on his organ growing higher and higher. Out through the blowhole, where scalps go to die, and bones soften under Cretaceous bonnet, there, beneath that. Under the bonnet, where ribbons cross and meet, with shadows and blood bindies, and the warts that cast them. There lay a bill, long as a hand of dust blown from the end of the piano to the eel's mailroom. The eel's erotic mailbox, through which not even one letter, upon ripening, can enter. The ants offer their redness as explosives, like frosted dynamite in the skunk's pew. Played down to the thinness, worn insistently, onerously even, of breviary flesh. A phone made sounds of bivalves confronted, with no eel in sight again, with the gouged weaving the eel in. Memory around their mind? Into the mind I bore down and penned up a pearl with a pea-green toupee, as if an island had it moored and was roving the world to find and cover its mouth. A pin drew up water to its head and garnished itself with a sandcastle. Few droplets left. There, reinforced for the moment, bronze blinked from its turrets, a few camel humps, flattened of their messages, washed out by themselves, lay like hills on the ground. A bonnet spat out, landed near the braid of a river, and near the asshole the sun, quiet, its arms crossed, then flung out like wings on waves. Down the wand, like a lean man against the wall, with the most ideal thoughts of himself available, at that angle, given what leaves, and he could know it, at the right hour between the sun and the wall, down the wand and past imparting his grass wig, onto the nose as if drawn by some centrifugal force to its crook and bulb, to redden there and spread its redness down it. More like a thermometer unzipping its pants in front of a turkey beheaded without a subject. And it was fleeced, a bun made of snow bales and conversations in which depicted she was with open arms seeking the world. The cookie cutter of the worm, she crowed. It crowded me down. It crowned and crowned me down all the way, outlining several ideas and a composite of a window in the rectory, pushed up against which was my cheek and the lips and nose, partially of the moon.
Hi, my name's Samira. I'm a student at the Iowa Writers Workshop, and I'm going to be reading 2 poems. This first one is called Next. Desire is an angel of motion, motion that destroys design. Like the glass of the broken eye, it points to a subject partial. But nature was not so tender. Heaven had killed all men. That was the choice of God, to God that blessed our minds. Opening the legs of the crow, the red of the heart has won. The stomach is pouring its love, and I have heard it speaking. And I had wanted different. I had wanted reprise. I had wanted an eye. The slice of the worm is a smile. It bends in the arms of the crow. This second poem is entitled, we must kill Netanyahu. A chicken roast on a turning pike. Its cumin consumes the room, patron smell and anticipated crinkle of taste. When eating, the hand picks up the flavor. It leaks onto my sleeve and in my nail beds, scrubbing with disposable alcohol wipes, a musk brooding under bleach does not create a hunger in me. Soldiers line the archway of the mosque, several sweaters abandoned out front. At a silver shop, I meet a man who walks me. He speaks in stories and short memories of his life living in stone. In the catacombs of old Jerusalem, shops and doorways side by side. Inside my bag is another bag. The IDF examined both, my tampon, my notebook full of scribbles turned sideways. Does it resemble decodable script? Silence was an appropriate answer. Quietly, my companion admires my sneakers. A nightingale is a secretive, plain bird. It was daylight, and we did not hear its strange song. I support Hamas because I admire their mission. When Israel detonates a bomb, a building collapses in Gaza. It is not by accident or chance. The noise is not like a popped balloon or a car alarm. Pets and barn animals run loose, bleating painful bleats like a human. Concrete falls. Windows burst in frequent refractions. In the dark, a crunch underfoot is assumedly glass. There must be retribution. Some cause must have some effect. An American at the cafe cradles his iPhone, feels the blue light of his home screen and the dew of his drink. To kill a killer requires dedication, a prayer of ancient storymen. You must dispel the modern logic loop. Because I am American, I see things in constructed planes. I know there is a formula, progressively called politic. It assembled the map that inspired the British to cast off their Jews to this ugly place. Netanyahu supports gay rights, yet we must skin him and rape his open wound. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kukutet. A student at the Iowa Writers Workshop. I'm going to first read this poem by Rifat Alaria. Rifat, along with his brother, his sister, and 4 nephews, were murdered during the Israeli bombardments of Gaza in December 2023. A few days later, his eldest daughter and the newborn were also murdered. And this poem was written in English. I will read this in English, and then I will read this in my Burmese translation. If I Must Die by Rifat Alaria. If I must die, you must live. To tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dead, who left in a blaze, and bid no farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. Nga tiyamesu, min niyama phitma. Nga ajong pyo bo, nga pai sain thamya yaung pi, awit dasa ne, achi chu tathuk we bo. Ami shi ne a few ong song luk pi, era ma Gaza ga klee tayauk, badu ko ma nong set, သူ့အသွေးအသားကိုမပြောနဲ့သူ့ကိုယ်သူတော်နှုတ်မဆက်ပဲမီးတော့မီလီယံတွေကြားထွက်သွားတဲ့သူ့အဖေကိုစောင့်မျှော်ရင်းကောင်းငင်ဘုံနဲ့မျက်လုံးချင်းစုံအောင်ကြည့်တဲ့အခါဟိုးအဝေးမှာပြန်ဝဲနေတဲ့မင်းလုတ်ပေးခဲ့တဲ့ငါရဲ့ဆုံကိုတွေ့သွားပြီးအင်ဂျယ်တစ်ပါးချစ်ချင်းတရားယူဆောင်လာတာလို့ခဏဖြစ်တော့တွေးမိမှာငါတည်ရမယ်ဆိုငါတည်ခြင်းကမျှော်လင့်ချက်ဆောင်ယူစေငါတည်ခြင်းကပုံမြင်တစ်ပုဒ်ဖြစ်ပါစေ Next, I am going to read a prose poem called Group Photograph. Group photograph. The poultry factory I find myself in is one of those you might have seen on TV. Endless rows of chicken corpses hanging by their feet on assembly lines. The entire building is empty of people. The carousels are at a standstill. The whole place, I see silence. The chickens have been gutted, plucked, and cleaned. All the work is done by a machine to perfection. There is uniformity in the goosebumpy texture of the fowls drained of blood, lit under fluorescent lamps. There's uniformity in the gauzy stench of raw flesh. All the chickens have died with their eyes shut. They had not been allowed to gaze back at the butcher. Each of their faces are quiescence. Millions of dead chickens and I. Endless aisles in every direction. I am trapped in our group photograph. My feet are not in the picture. I will end with this poem I wrote after the 2014 Israeli bombardment of a Gaza school where many children were taking shelters during the night, and I imagine that the children died during their sleep. This poem is called Child Corpses, and I wrote that in 2014 and published in my first collection of poetry. Child corpses. Dead children are easy. They aren't choleric. They don't leave wails. A child casket is a light load. If a coffin is a fancy, infant death agrees with a cardboard box or a blanket. In mass graves, children rest more visible than parents. Kids who were walked into the gas chamber thought they were having a meal after a shower. And troubled children are. From 6 months on, most babies are capable of sleeping through the night. Thank you.